recent revelation regarding Camilla's granddaughter, and the DNA test results that have rocked the royal family is not only unprecedented, but also raises questions that have yet to be fully addressed. The claim, made public by Princess Beatrice, stating that her biological father is not Thomas Parker Bowles but Sir Charles Beaumont, has left the royal family and the wider world in a state of disbelief. This exposure could fundamentally alter the way the British monarchy is perceived and, more importantly, the way it operates in the future. What started as a quiet investigation by Beatrice into her genetic background has now evolved into one of the most controversial stories the monarchy has ever faced. The palace's immediate response was a combination of silence and denial. While royal aides scrambled to suppress the narrative, the DNA test results, which confirmed the biological connection to Sir Charles, could not be ignored. These results suggest that for over 2 decades, the public, the media, and even the royal family itself have been operating under a misconception. Camilla's role, initially seen as a loving stepmother, is now being questioned on a more personal and profound level. The question that follows immediately is, how did this happen? The official narrative surrounding Beatrice's birth has always been clear. Born to Sarah Ferguson and Thomas Parker Bowles, Beatrice was expected to follow in the traditional royal path, albeit with her unique set of challenges as the daughter of divorced parents. However, the new developments suggest that the royal family, particularly Camilla, may have played a much larger and far more hidden role in Beatrice's upbringing than previously understood. When examining the timing of these events, several factors come into play. First, Beatrice's investigation into her true parentage was reportedly spurred by a series of inconsistencies in her family's medical history. She reportedly began to notice small anomalies in her own health and physical traits that didn't seem to align with her father's side of the family. These discrepancies prompted her to delve deeper into her genetic history. It was only through this investigation that Beatrice discovered what many in the royal family had been keeping quiet. For years, her true father was not Thomas Parker Bowles but Sir Charles Beaumont, a figure from Camilla's past. The origins of this paternity test are shrouded in secrecy. Some sources suggest that Beatrice may have approached the subject of her parentage with Camilla before taking the matter to the courts. Whether Camilla's silence or refusal to confirm her biological connection to Beatrice played a role in the revelation is not clear, but the fact that the royal family failed to acknowledge this relationship until now raises serious questions about the transparency of royal affairs. The palace, historically known for its well-guarded secrets, has remained uncharacteristically quiet, leading to growing speculation and demands for accountability. Further complicating the situation is the history of Sir Charles Beaumont, who, until now, had remained largely out of the public eye. Once a prominent figure within royal, he was known to have had close ties to Camilla during the late Jobai Tirches and early Jobai Basherses. At the time, Camilla and Prince Charles were in the midst of their highly publicized and at times tumultuous relationship. However, there was a period when Camilla distanced herself from Charles and maintained close friendships with various figures, including Sir Charles, who was often seen as a confidante. His sudden re-emergence as Beatrice's biological father introduces a new dimension to Camilla's private life that was, in realm, until now not widely known. The implications of these revelations are far-reaching. The royal family's image is built on the concept of legitimacy, is Criers Toothowers and Tanis, not just of bloodline but of transparency and tradition. The discovery that Beatrice may not have been born into the family she thought she was, type or contrast, challenges the very foundations of these ideals. Beatrice, as the granddaughter of Camilla and the presumed descendant of the Parker Bowles family, would have had her place in the royal family's future, as dictated by her bloodline. But now, with the confirmation of a different biological father, that lineage is in question. This also brings up questions of inheritance and royal succession. Should Beatrice be officially recognized as a descendant of Sir Charles? What rights, if any, does she have to titles, property, or other royal privileges? The palace's legal team has yet to comment publicly on this matter. But experts in royal law suggest that the monarchy could face a complicated legal battle if Beatrice seeks recognition. There are many factors to consider, including the potential challenge to the royal family's established line of succession, which is based on direct descent from the reigning monarch. If Beatrice is not biologically linked to Thomas Parker Bowles, her official status within the royal family could be drastically affected. In addition to the legal and succession issues, there is a deeper, more personal impact on the royal family. Camilla's role as a stepmother, which has been central to her public image, is now being reconsidered. Camilla was often portrayed as a woman who stepped into a complex family dynamic with grace, foresight, and helping to raise the children of her husband, Prince Charles, from his previous marriage. This image, carefully crafted over the years, is now being questioned. If Camilla is indeed Beatrice's biological mother, it would suggest a much more personal involvement in the royal family's history than previously acknowledged. It could also imply that the royal family knew of her paternity but chose to remain silent, allowing Beatrice to grow up under a false narrative of parentage. Another key aspect of this situation is the role of Sarah Ferguson, Beatrice's mother. While Sarah Ferguson has not publicly commented on the revelation, her position within the royal family is not without complication. As the ex-wife of Prince Andrew and the mother of Beatrice and Eugenie, Sarah has long navigated a precarious relationship with the palace. Her public life, often subject to scrutiny, has involved a series of personal and professional setbacks, but she has always maintained a strong relationship with her daughters. The revelation that Beatrice's biological mother might be someone else entirely could put additional strain on Sarah's already delicate relationship with the royal family. In terms of public perception, this scandal is likely to fuel further interest in the dynamics of royal relationships and the secrets that have been kept hidden for generations. The British monarchy has long been a subject of fascination, but in recent years, as scandals involving Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle have dominated the media, the public's view of the royal family has shifted. The monarchy, once seen as an untouchable institution, now faces ongoing challenges to its relevance and credibility. This new revelation, if it proves to be true, will only add fuel to the fire, raising further questions about transparency, accountability, and the future of the royal family. At the heart of this scandal is the issue of family. For Beatrice, the emotional toll of discovering the truth about her paternity cannot be overstated. She has spent her entire life in the public eye, shaped by a narrative that she now knows to be false. The sense of betrayal she must feel, not just from her family but from the institution that has defined her entire existence, is undeniable. The fallout from this revelation will likely affect her not just personally, but professionally, as she continues to navigate her role within the royal family. For Camilla, the consequences are even more significant. Her public life has been a study in resilience. Her behind her life, from her early years as the other woman in the Charles-Diana marriage, to her eventual acceptance into royal circles as Prince Charles's wife. Now, with the possibility of a biological link to Beatrice, Camilla's carefully constructed image as a loving stepmother is in question. US spy was. How will the public view her role in Beatrice's life? How will the rest of the royal family react to this revelation? These are questions that the palace will be forced to address in the coming weeks as the scandal continues to unfold. The legal and emotional implications of this situation are still being evaluated. It is possible that Beatrice may seek to have her status within the royal family redefined, potentially challenging the established line of succession. She could also demand a public acknowledgement of her true parentage, an acknowledgement that would likely force the palace to confront uncomfortable truths about the past. The matter of titles, succession, and royal privileges is far from settled, and only time will tell how the palace will address these complex issues. As the investigation continues and the legal proceedings unfold, the world will be watching. The British royal family, once regarded as the epitome of tradition and stability, now finds itself embroiled in a scandal that has the potential to change the future of the monarchy forever. This story, with all its twists and turns, is far from over, and as the world waits for answers, the only certainty is that the royal family's carefully guarded secrets are now on the verge of being exposed. The world watched in stunned silence as the dramatic events of a British court hearing unfolded, leaving the royal family shaken to its core. Camilla, the Queen Consort, was no stranger to controversy, having weathered her fair share of media scrutiny over the years. However, the events of this fateful day, sparked by a shocking revelation regarding her family, threatened to unravel a carefully guarded royal secret that no one could have foreseen. As the DNA test results were read aloud in the courtroom, the dramatic truth behind the identity of Camilla's grandson's biological grandfather was revealed. A truth so explosive, it left both the court and the royal family reeling. The court case, which had been quietly progressing behind the scenes, suddenly erupted into a media frenzy when the results of a long-awaited paternity test were disclosed. The focus of the case was Camilla's grandson, who had long been regarded as the heir to the Parker Bowles legacy, closely linked to Camilla and her late husband Andrew Parker Bowles. The child, known publicly as one of the youngest members of the royal family's extended circle, had been a source of public fascination, but the twist in his lineage was nothing short of a bombshell. The DNA test results revealed that Camilla's grandson was, in fact, not the biological grandson of Andrew Parker Bowles, as had always been assumed. Instead, the results pointed to a completely unexpected figure, someone with a significant connection to the royal family's inner circle, but one whose identity had been concealed for years. The true biological grandfather of the child was none other than Sir Charles Beaumont, a former close confidant of Camilla's late husband and a man whose relationship with the Parker Bowles family had always been shrouded in secrecy. As the courtroom buzzed with disbelief, Camilla's grandson, the young boy at the center of the storm, collapsed in a heap in front of the judge, overcome by the enormity of the revelation. His reaction was one of utter shock, as the impact of this truth appeared to be too overwhelming to comprehend. Members of the royal family, who had quietly hoped that this matter would never see the light of day, were now faced with the harsh reality that a deep-rooted secret was on the brink of exposure to the public. For Camilla, the moment was nothing short of devastating. For years, she had done everything in her power to maintain the integrity and unity of her family, especially as her role as queen consort had placed her under the watchful eye of the public. The idea that such a revelation, one that could not only alter the public's perception of her, but also challenge the legitimacy of her son's lineage, was now threatening to come to light was a nightmare come true. Her mind raced as she processed the shock, trying to reconcile the deep personal history and secrecy that had been woven into the fabric of her family life. The implications of this revelation were not just personal, they were royal. If the results of the DNA test held true, it meant that the boy's true biological grandfather was not a member of the Parker Bowles family, but someone who had long been associated with Camilla's past. Sir Charles Beaumont had been a trusted friend of Andrew Parker Bowles and had even been present at many royal functions over the years. Yet, few knew the depth of his relationship with Camilla, which had remained largely private. The notion that their connection had extended beyond friendship to the point of producing a child together was both shocking and scandalous. The media, which had been eagerly awaiting the outcome of the court case, wasted no time in reporting the story. Headlines across the world screamed in disbelief as the royal family was thrust into a whirlwind of public scrutiny. The royal palace, notoriously tight-lipped on matters of family and private affairs, issued a brief statement acknowledging the outcome of the DNA test, but refused to provide further comment. The situation became even more complicated when Camilla's grandson, who had previously been seen as a beloved child of the royal family, now found himself at the center of a storm of controversy. The young boy's collapse in court was a physical manifestation of the emotional toll the situation had taken on him. His once secure place in the royal family's narrative had now been turned upside down, leaving him to grapple with a truth that, at his young age, seemed impossible to comprehend. Court documents revealed that the test had been requested by a concerned family member who had long suspected the truth about the boy's paternity. The reasons behind this suspicion remained unclear, but what was evident was that the DNA test had confirmed the worst fears of those who had been desperate to keep the matter hidden. The emotional weight of the results was not lost on anyone in the courtroom, but it was clear that for Camilla, the discovery hit hardest of all. The queen consort, ever the picture of composure in public, was visibly shaken by the revelation. Sources close to Camilla reported that she had struggled to contain her emotions in the immediate aftermath, retreating into private quarters at Buckingham Palace to process the fallout. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, who had always been protective of his children, was equally devastated by the results. He had long suspected that there were unresolved issues within the family, but this level of secrecy and betrayal had never been anticipated. As the details of the court case and the shocking DNA results spread through the press, the questions surrounding Camilla's relationship with Sir Charles Beaumont began to surface. Sources close to the royal family hinted at a long-standing clandestine bond between the two, suggesting that their connection had been one of both personal and professional nature. Sir Charles had been a confidant of Andrew Parker Bowles for many years, and his role in the family had been one of a trusted advisor. However, the notion that their friendship had evolved into something far more intimate, leading to the conception of Camilla's grandson, was a scandalous revelation that few had ever imagined. The wider implications of this revelation were not just personal. The legitimacy of Camilla's grandson's claim to the Parker Bowles legacy was now in question. If Sir Charles Beaumont was indeed the biological grandfather, what did that mean for the child's position within the family? Would his place in the royal family's succession and his claim to certain royal privileges be called into question? These were questions that, until now, had remained unspoken. But now, with the DNA test results on record, the family would have to address these concerns head-on. The royal family's carefully constructed image of unity and tradition was suddenly fragile, teetering on the edge of a crisis that could have far-reaching consequences for years to come. In the aftermath of the court hearing, the family came under intense scrutiny. Camilla, once the compassionate mother and royal consort, was now seen by many as the central figure in a web of secrecy, one that had been spun tightly around her for years. She found herself at the heart of a scandal that no amount of royal charm or public appearances could easily erase. The queen consort was now forced to reconcile her past with her present, all while grappling with the consequences of a truth that had been kept hidden for far too long. Her grandson, in the meantime, remained under the watchful eye of the public. Though his collapse in court was a clear sign of the emotional burden he carried, the long-term impact of this revelation on his mental and emotional health remained a source of concern. As the media continued to focus on the family's turmoil, many wondered how Camilla would respond, and whether the royal family could survive this scandal without further unraveling. The truth had come to light. Camilla's grandson was no longer just another royal family member. He was the symbol of a family's deepest secrets, now exposed to the world. How would Camilla handle the fallout, and what would this mean for the future of her family? Only time would tell if this shocking revelation would bring the royal family closer together, or if it would shatter the illusion of unity that they had so carefully maintained for generations.
Millions watched in stunned silence as Laura Lopes lunged forward and snatched the microphone from Queen Camilla's hands on live television. The terror in the queen consort's eyes told the whole story. This wasn't planned. What explosive royal secrets was Laura about to expose that made Buckingham Palace cut the broadcast feed within seconds? Palace insiders confirm this wasn't just a family squabble. It was the moment the monarchy's darkest secrets nearly spilled into public view. Royal experts worldwide are still reeling from the incident, calling it unprecedented and the most significant threat to the monarchy in modern times. For the first time, we reveal what actually happened in those chaotic moments, what Laura intended to expose, and the frantic palace cover-up operation that followed. By the end of this exclusive report, you'll discover the bombshell document Laura planned to reference on air, one so damaging that intelligence services were called in within minutes. Laura Lopes has always been the invisible royal, the art curator who deliberately stayed in the shadows while her mother rose from royal mistress to queen consort. Impeccable sources close to the royal household describe Laura as thoughtful, intelligent, and fiercely private. This careful distance from the spotlight made her sudden public rebellion all the more shocking. For years, Laura maintained dignified silence through scandals, criticism, and her mother's controversial ascension to the throne. She built a respectable career in London's art world, married without fanfare, and raised her children well away from the royal circus. Palace insiders reveal Laura had become increasingly troubled by what she witnessed behind palace walls. Her rare appearances at royal functions were marked by visible tension, particularly around King Charles. At last month's garden party, keen observers noted Laura spent less than 2 minutes in conversation with her stepfather, before abruptly excusing herself. Body language experts who reviewed the footage detected extreme discomfort and barely concealed hostility beneath her polite smile. Everything changed the moment she stepped onto that stage. The charity literacy event at Royal Albert Hall was proceeding exactly as planned. Queen Camilla, dressed in royal purple and diamonds once belonging to the Queen Mother, delivered her prepared remarks with practiced ease. Security personnel stood at standard positions, completely unprepared for a threat from within the royal family itself. Television cameras broadcast the benign event to millions across Britain and worldwide via streaming services. Laura entered from stage left, moving with such purpose that staffers assumed she was part of the program. Her determined stride caught security off guard. Who would suspect the Queen's own daughter? In 3 swift steps, she reached the podium. What happened next unfolded in just 7 seconds. Yet royal watchers say those seconds will forever alter the monarchy's future. Laura's hand shot forward, grasping the microphone firmly. Camilla's expression transformed from momentary confusion to abject horror in a heartbeat. Their eyes locked in what royal biographer Malcolm Templeton calls the most charged mother-daughter confrontation in royal history. Laura turned toward the audience, opened her mouth to speak, and the feed cut to black. But you won't believe what slipped through before the blackout. In the 3 seconds before broadcast engineers scrambled to kill the feed, Laura uttered exactly 17 words. Those words, confirmed by 3 separate sources present at the event, sent immediate shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. The archives contain proof of royal involvement in government surveillance programs targeting British citizens, she began. The remainder of her planned statement was cut, but those initial words were enough to trigger the highest level of palace crisis protocols. Remember that terrified look on Camilla's face? Here's why it appeared so quickly. Sources close to the Queen Consort confirm she immediately recognized which documents Laura was referencing. These aren't just embarrassing family records. They're explosive evidence of a decades-long program that, if fully exposed, could fundamentally damage public trust in both the monarchy and government institutions. In a moment, you'll hear exactly what those documents contain and why they've been hidden for generations. The Royal Albert Hall erupted into chaos the instant the broadcast cut. Security personnel swarmed Laura, creating a human shield as they escorted her from the stage. Witnesses described Queen Camilla collapsing into her chair, visibly shaking as her private secretary rushed to her side. Within 60 seconds, elite security teams sealed all exits, confiscated phones from attendees, and initiated what one security expert calls textbook information containment protocols. Palace officials moved with unprecedented speed. Royal communications staff switched from routine public relations to full crisis management within minutes. Prime ministerial aides arrived on site within half an hour, suggesting coordination at the highest levels of government. Most telling was the arrival of representatives from Britain's intelligence services, confirmed by multiple attendees who recognized officials not typically present at royal events. Behind the scenes, a sophisticated damage control operation was already underway. Technical teams seized all recording equipment from media organizations. Staff members report being required to sign additional confidentiality agreements with penalties far exceeding standard royal protocols. One media technician described the atmosphere as more like a national security incident than a royal event. While official channels worked to suppress the incident, royal insiders were already leaking details through secure channels. Multiple sources confirm Laura had been systematically collecting evidence for years, gathering documents that contradicted official narratives about the monarchy's role in British political life. Her planned revelation was reportedly timed to coincide with the publication of archived materials scheduled for release next month, materials that will now likely remain sealed. Queen Camilla hasn't been seen in public since the incident. Official statements cite a minor respiratory infection, but palace insiders paint a very different picture. The Queen Consort reportedly hasn't left her private apartments for days, refusing all but essential meetings. King Charles's schedule, meanwhile, has been suspiciously packed with out-of-town engagements, creating physical distance from the unfolding family crisis. The strain within the royal family has never been more severe. Sources with direct access to senior royals describe open conflict between those who want Laura permanently excised from royal life and others advocating for reconciliation. At the center of this storm stands Tom Parker Bowles, Laura's brother, now forced to choose between loyalty to his sister and his increasingly prominent role in royal circles. Tom's position has become particularly precarious. Just hours before Laura's unprecedented action, He appeared on breakfast television promoting his latest cookbook, warmly describing his mother's support for his culinary career. Now, royal watchers report he's been placed in an impossible position, pressured by palace officials to publicly distance himself from his sister, while privately attempting to mediate this explosive family rift. Prince William has reportedly taken a hardline stance, viewing Laura's actions as a direct threat to the institution he will someday lead. Those familiar with senior royal thinking say he's advocating for a complete break, arguing that any compromise would show weakness that could encourage further revelations. William's perspective carries particular weight given his influence over royal communications strategy in recent years. Most intriguing is the response from Prince Harry and Meghan. Sources close to the couple report they've made multiple attempts to contact Laura through secure channels, recognizing parallels to their own experiences challenging royal protocols. Their outreach has reportedly been blocked by palace gatekeepers, determined to prevent any alliance between these royal outsiders. Laura herself has vanished from public view. Her London home stands empty, with neighbors reporting unusual activity in the early morning hours following the incident. Her husband has cancelled all professional engagements, and her children were abruptly withdrawn from their prestigious school. The family's complete disappearance suggests either a carefully planned escape or palace-orchestrated seclusion. The documents Laura attempted to expose reveal a systematic program of surveillance targeting political activists, journalists, and even members of parliament dating back to the 1960s. According to 3 separate sources who have seen these materials, the monarchy didn't just know about these operations. They actively facilitated them, providing cover for intelligence services to monitor British citizens without proper oversight. Most damaging are handwritten notes from senior royals expressing explicit approval for operations targeting civil rights organizations, anti-war protesters, and environmental activists. These operations extended well beyond legal surveillance, allegedly including active disruption of legitimate political organizations through infiltration and deliberate sabotage. The palace's desperation to suppress these revelations explains the unprecedented scale of their response. Intelligence experts consulted for this report confirmed that the mechanisms activated following Laura's attempted exposure typically reserve for extreme threats to national security. The involvement of government ministers and intelligence officials in what should be a family matter speaks volumes about what's really at stake. Within hours of the incident, an elaborate digital scrubbing operation was underway. Social media posts mentioning the event disappeared at an alarming rate. Technical experts note patterns consistent with advanced content management interventions typically reserved for national security situations. Mainstream media organizations suddenly developed collective amnesia, replacing initial reports with sanitized references to a brief technical interruption. What makes Laura's action particularly significant is her lifelong reputation for discretion. Unlike other royal rebels, she never sought the spotlight, gave interviews, or publicly criticized the institution. This wasn't an impulsive grab for attention. It was a deliberate choice by someone who had exhausted all internal channels for accountability. Sources close to Laura reveal she spent years attempting to address her concerns through proper royal protocols. She reportedly raised alarms directly with King Charles on at least 4 occasions, prepared detailed briefings for senior advisors, and even sought private counsel from former prime ministers familiar with the relevant historical periods. Every attempt was met with deflection, denial, or warnings about the consequences of pursuing such sensitive matters. The final straw reportedly came when Laura discovered plans to permanently seal specific historical records that would have eventually become public under normal archival rules. This decision, made at the highest levels of palace leadership, convinced her that institutional self-preservation had overtaken any commitment to historical truth. What does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Royal observers suggest this unprecedented breach from within the family's inner circle creates vulnerabilities no external criticism could achieve. When the daughter of the Queen Consort herself loses faith in the institution's integrity, it raises fundamental questions about what other secrets remain hidden behind palace walls. The most immediate concern for royal strategists is what Laura might do next. Despite aggressive containment efforts, she possesses knowledge and potentially documentation that could cause incalculable damage if made public. Her complete disappearance from public view has created a dangerous unknown, for an institution that survives by carefully managing its image. Palace officials fear Laura may have created what security professionals call a dead man's switch. Arrangements ensuring sensitive information becomes public automatically if she doesn't regularly prevent its release. This would explain the frantic efforts to locate her and secure any materials in her possession, evidenced by unusual activity reported at her various properties. For Queen Camilla, this represents the greatest personal and professional crisis of her life. Sources describe her as completely shattered by her daughter's actions, torn between maternal instinct and institutional duty. The woman who navigated decades of public criticism to reach the throne now faces a threat from the person she least expected: her own daughter. The recorded words that slipped through before the broadcast blackout represented just the beginning of what Laura planned to reveal. According to sources who have seen her prepared remarks, she intended to name specific royal family members who approved surveillance operations, detail financial transactions used to fund these programs, and expose ongoing efforts to prevent historical accountability. Most explosive was her planned reference to a specific document, a 1977 memorandum bearing royal signatures, authorizing expanded domestic surveillance during a period of labor unrest. This document explicitly acknowledges the program's questionable legality, but dismisses concerns in favor of protecting established order. The palace's desperate efforts to suppress this revelation suggest the memo's authenticity is not in question. If these documents become public, royal experts suggest the constitutional implications would be far-reaching. The monarchy's carefully maintained political neutrality would be exposed as a carefully crafted fiction. Public trust, already fragile, could collapse entirely. For an institution that relies on tradition and reverence, such revelations might prove existentially threatening. The timing of Laura's action has raised additional questions among royal observers. Her move came just weeks before a scheduled state visit by controversial foreign dignitaries, a visit that would have placed her mother front and center in diplomatic ceremonies. Sources familiar with palace planning reveal that Laura had been specifically excluded from all related events despite her previous inclusion in similar functions. This deliberate sidelining reportedly came after she questioned the appropriateness of hosting leaders with questionable human rights records. The decision to grab the microphone during a high-profile charity event rather than a more private occasion suggests Laura specifically wanted maximum public impact. Adding another layer of intrigue, financial analysts have noted unusual movements in accounts connected to royal estates in the days following the incident. Large transfers between charitable foundations and private trusts controlled by senior royals have triggered automated monitoring systems at several major banks. While officially described as routine reallocations, the timing and scale of these movements suggest preparation for potential legal challenges or public relations crises. One financial security expert described the pattern as classic crisis mode wealth protection. Exactly the steps one would expect if the institution anticipated serious reputational damage. As palace officials work frantically to contain this crisis, one question remains unanswered. Where is Laura now? Some believe she's secured international protection, preparing to tell her story beyond the reach of British authorities. Others suggest she's negotiating terms, using the threat of disclosure to force meaningful reforms within the institution. Most concerning for the palace is the possibility that this was never about public exposure, but instead the first move in a longer game of internal accountability. What's certain is that the monarchy has entered uncharted waters. The careful image management that defined the institution for generations has been fundamentally undermined by someone with intimate knowledge of its inner workings. Laura's 17 words, broadcast before the feed was cut, opened a door that may prove impossible to close. If this is only the beginning, imagine what else the royals have tried to bury. The daughter who once stood silently in the background has forced the world to question every carefully crafted narrative about the House of Windsor. In grabbing that microphone, Laura Lopes may have changed the course of royal history forever.
Well, I mean, I am extremely concerned. Again, I was trying to outline a 10-point action plan.
For years, the secret remained locked away, hidden in the shadows of the royal family's tightly guarded walls. A secret so powerful, it could change everything. King Charles, a monarch with a life shaped by public expectation, carried a truth that few could ever fathom. Beneath the crown and the grandeur, there was a bond that he was forced to keep in the dark. His son, a child whose very existence threatened to unravel the delicate fabric of royalty. But why? What drove a king to hide his own flesh and blood? The story behind this secret is one of love, sacrifice, and the unimaginable choices that come with wearing a crown. This is the untold truth of why King Charles had to keep his son a secret. Who is the son? The story of King Charles and his alleged secret son is one shrouded in mystery. Many have wondered, who is this child that was kept hidden from the public for so long? Well, the details around this secret son remain unclear and largely speculative, with a mix of rumors and half-truths that have spread over the years. However, one of the most prominent claims is that the child is from an affair that King Charles had during the 1980s. Some reports suggest that the child was born out of an affair King Charles had with a woman who was not Princess Diana or Camilla Parker Bowles. Yet, despite the rumors, there has never been any official confirmation of the son's identity. What we do know is that this child was allegedly kept away from the public eye, and any trace of him was wiped from the royal family's official history. While the exact details about the son are hard to pin down, speculation has linked the child to King Charles's earlier years when he was already married to Diana, or even earlier when his relationship with Camilla was less public. For some, the idea of a secret son is not entirely shocking, given the royal family's long history of maintaining a certain image and protecting their personal lives from public scrutiny. But why would a member of the royal family, particularly someone as high profile as King Charles, choose to keep a child in the shadows? What could possibly be the reason for such secrecy? Why was he kept a secret? The question of why this son was kept a secret is both complex and, in many ways, heartbreaking. King Charles, like all members of the royal family, was bound by the unspoken rules of monarchy, where image and reputation are everything. The royal family's primary concern is maintaining an image of perfection. Royal protocol dictates that every action, every word, and even every relationship be carefully controlled to ensure there is no scandal. A royal scandal, especially one involving an illegitimate child, could threaten the very foundation of the monarchy. For Charles, revealing the existence of a son born out of an affair could have been disastrous. It would have brought intense media scrutiny, undermined his already strained relationship with Princess Diana, and sparked public outrage. The British monarchy is an institution built on tradition, and any deviation from that tradition is viewed as a threat. A secret child could have complicated the line of succession and the delicate balance of power within the royal family. Beyond the public image, there was also the issue of security. Royals live under constant threat, and a child, especially one with a questionable background, could have been vulnerable. In a world where the media would go to extreme lengths to dig into personal matters, exposing the son's existence could have endangered both him and his family. So, keeping the child a secret seemed to be the only logical option for King Charles and the royal family. It allowed them to shield themselves from the harsh glare of the media and protect their public persona at all costs. The story of concealment. But how did King Charles go about hiding this son? The royal family is known for its ability to keep secrets, and this one was no exception. The story of concealment is as much about strategy as it is about secrecy. First, it's important to understand that royal lives are not like ordinary lives. Members of the royal family have access to vast resources, including personal security teams and staff who are sworn to secrecy. The child's birth, if indeed it happened, was likely kept under tight wraps. He could have been raised far away from the public eye, perhaps in another country or under the guise of a distant relative. What is even more fascinating is the fact that King Charles could have continued his life as though nothing had happened. His public appearances, interviews, and royal duties were all unaffected. The child was likely kept hidden from the media, and any records relating to his existence were sealed. Perhaps even those closest to King Charles and the royal family never knew about this secret. Despite the level of secrecy, the question remains, why take such measures? King Charles had to know that the truth would eventually come out. The longer the secret remained hidden, the more difficult it would be to keep it under wraps. But for him, the cost of revealing the truth may have been far greater than the cost of concealment. Reasons behind the secret. The royal family's reputation is everything. They are not just public figures. They represent an institution that has stood for centuries. Every member of the family is expected to act with the utmost decorum and to maintain a flawless image at all times. A scandal involving an illegitimate child would have been catastrophic, especially at a time when the royal family was already under intense public scrutiny. The monarchy's ability to remain in power is directly tied to how it is perceived by the public. Any scandal, no matter how small, could shake public confidence in the royal family. And for King Charles, who had already faced significant challenges in his personal life, this secret son could have been the tipping point. An affair, a secret child, and the potential for a broken marriage all painted a picture that the royal family could not afford to make public. The monarchy was going through enough turmoil with the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage, and the idea of a hidden child would have been too much to bear. The political consequences of revealing such a secret would have been immense. As the heir to the British throne, King Charles' actions could have directly affected the monarchy's future. A secret child could have complicated the line of succession, especially if there were doubts about the child's legitimacy or place in the royal family. If the secret son were to be revealed and accepted into the royal fold, it could have created a conflict with other heirs. Would the child have had a claim to the throne? Would there have been a struggle for power within the royal family? These are questions that would have undermined the stability of the monarchy and could have had serious constitutional ramifications. At the time, the royal family needed unity, not division. Exposing such a secret could have jeopardized that unity, threatening the stability of the monarchy for generations. King Charles's personal life was far from straightforward. His marriage to Princess Diana was fraught with tension, and his affair with Camilla Parker Bowles was widely known and discussed by the media. But even beyond these well-documented issues, there were personal feelings at play. King Charles's decision to keep the son a secret may have been influenced by a desire to protect his family, and particularly his children. Revealing the existence of another child, especially one from a relationship outside of his marriage to Diana, would have caused further strain between him and his children, William and Harry. There was also the matter of his own emotional state. Charles was under enormous pressure, both from his public duties and from his personal life. Keeping this secret might have been an effort to maintain some semblance of control in a life that felt increasingly out of his hands. The hidden child's life and impact. The life of the secret son, assuming he existed, would have been one of extreme secrecy. Raised away from the public eye, he would have likely been kept away from the royal spotlight entirely. While there are no confirmed details about his upbringing, it's possible that he was given a private education, shielded from the intense media attention that the royal family often faces. His life would have been vastly different from that of his half-siblings, William and Harry. Unlike them, he would have been kept hidden, with no public appearances or official titles. It's even possible that he grew up unaware of his true parentage, given the strict measures the royal family would have taken to keep the secret. Being kept a secret would have undoubtedly taken a toll on the child, especially as he grew older. The knowledge that his existence was concealed from the world could have led to feelings of isolation and confusion. Would he have ever learned the truth about his father? And how would that knowledge have shaped his relationship with King Charles, his family, and even the British public? The emotional strain of living in secrecy cannot be underestimated. For a child who was denied the opportunity to know his father fully, the psychological impact could have been profound. How did the child cope with growing up without public recognition or connection to the royal family? The royal family is known for its strong public image, but behind the scenes, their relationships are not always as perfect as they appear. Keeping such a secret could have strained the dynamics within the family. King Charles's relationships with his children, William and Harry, would have likely been affected by the knowledge of a secret child. How did they feel about the secrecy? And what did it mean for their relationship with their father? These are questions that remain unanswered, but the impact on the family's closeness and trust would have been undeniable. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more hidden truths and untold stories. There's always more to discover. King Charles and Queen Camilla's forbidden love affair started from friendship, which eventually led to marriage, despite the controversies surrounding their relationship. Some of these controversies also revolve around Camilla's status as the future queen. But now, King Charles has made an announcement about Camilla's position in the palace, which could potentially change her status. This would lead to several questions about the future of the royal family. What is this announcement? And how exactly does it affect the future of the royal family? Join us as we reveal the huge announcement that King Charles made about Queen Camilla, the royal announcement. King Charles has just made an announcement regarding Queen Camilla, which has stirred a lot of reactions from both the royal family and the public. This announcement brought about a lot of changes in the role Camilla has to play within the monarchy. This announcement further established her title as Queen Consort and her growing responsibilities alongside Charles. In his statement, King Charles emphasized his commitment to supporting Camilla as she continues her royal duties. This decision is important not only as a personal acknowledgement of their marriage, but also as a strategic move to redefine the monarchy in the public eye. Following the death of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022, the royal family underwent a significant transition. Prince Charles, her eldest son and the longest-serving heir apparent, immediately ascended the throne as King Charles III, marking a significant shift after decades of Queen Elizabeth's reign. This change brought in a fresh perspective and approach within the royal family. With King Charles now at the helm, Camilla was formally acknowledged as Queen Consort, highlighting her crucial role alongside him. This important moment is indicated by Charles's emphasis on service and community engagement, to silence the sentiments shared during his early years of public life. The couple's focus on charitable initiatives is evident, with Camilla actively championing causes like domestic violence awareness and literacy programs. Their joint efforts reflect a major shift in how the royal family engages with the public. The couple has made significant strides in fostering a more relatable and approachable image. You will not believe the reaction of the public. Keep following. The public reactions to the announcement have been positive, with many praising Camilla's dedication to her royal duties and charitable work. Her ability to connect with people from various backgrounds has played a critical role in reshaping her public image. Furthermore, their marriage shows a modern monarchy that acknowledges past controversies while looking toward the future. Also, the media reactions to this news is quite fascinating, as the opinions and comments varied. Supporters applaud this as a sign of progressive leadership, acknowledging Camilla's growth and her contributions to various causes. However, critics remained skeptical, pointing to the history of their relationship and the controversies that have surrounded it in the past. Among the royal experts, discussions emerged about whether this move would solidify Camilla's place in the monarchy, or if the public would continue to contend with her controversial past. As royal analysts analyzed the situation, they noted that this could mark a turning point for the monarchy. Many believe that Charles's decision reflects a desire to modernize the royal image, moving away from the old perceptions that have plagued the family. Peradventure, the implications of this announcement will pave the way for a new era in royal history. It is a notable interest that the public opinion has shifted dramatically over the past 2 decades. Polls indicate a growth in 2017, during an important moment at a public engagement where Camilla spoke candidly about her experiences with domestic abuse, which solidified her commitment to raising awareness about such critical issues. This authenticity proved vital in shifting public perceptions. Interestingly, her marriage to Charles allowed her to represent the modern royal pattern, harmonizing tradition with progressive values. As the couple's love story grew, their dedication to environmental causes gained momentum, with Charles often highlighting Camilla's support in his speeches. Together, they began to represent a new era for the monarchy, one that focused on compassion and service. The acceptance of the monarchy, particularly among younger generations, who value the authenticity and engagement of their leaders. Charles and Camilla's marriage is now seen as a testament to love's endurance, a narrative that matches with a society increasingly prioritizing emotional connections. The implications of this announcement are profound. Will Charles and Camilla continue to change the narrative of the monarchy's role in British life? As they take on more significant responsibilities, their marriage will set the tone for future generations of royals. The challenge lies in balancing tradition with the expectations of a diverse and evolving public. As King Charles and Queen Camilla embark on this new chapter, they carry with them the hopes of a nation ready for change. Their story is one of resilience, love, and the promise of a modern monarchy that embraces the complexities of contemporary life. The royal couple's vision may not only uphold their legacy, but also inspire a renewed connection between the monarchy and the British people. As they take on greater responsibilities, there is a sense of anticipation about the impact their leadership will have on future generations of royals and the evolving nature of the British monarchy. King Charles's bold decision regarding Queen Camilla has altered the way of the royal family. The love story of the amazing British couple did not start out of the blues, as there was backlash and controversies behind their sweet story. How did their love grow over the years? Keep watching to find out. Camilla's past and royal connections. Love is generally believed to be a beautiful thing. It is a thing of joy when a couple recounts their love story. The story of King Charles and Queen Camilla began long before their marriage, tracing back to their early years. Their connection, which began in the early 1970s, sparked a relationship that would come to symbolize both resilience and controversy. At a polo match, the young Charles first met Camilla Shand, a spirited woman with a distinct charm that captivated him. Little did they know that this chance encounter would lay the groundwork for a complex relationship filled with both joy and heartache. Camilla Rosemary Shand was born on July 17, 1947, into an upper-middle class in King's College Hospital, London. Her parents, Major Bruce Shand and Rosalind Cubitt, welcomed their second child into a family steeped in British aristocracy. Her upbringing was relatively privileged. She attended prestigious schools, including Queensgate School and the University of London, where she studied English. This background provided her with a strong foundation, and influences became pivotal in shaping her character. Growing up in a society that valued lineage, she developed a keen understanding of her social environment. When she crossed paths with Prince Charles, then the heir to the British throne, their instant connection could not be hidden. Their paths first crossed in the early 1970s, at a polo match, where mutual friends facilitated their introduction. The chemistry was immediate, and they quickly became inseparable. Yet, as the public later came to know, their burgeoning romance was fraught with complications. Camilla's marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973 added an additional layer of complexity to their connection, leading to public speculation and scrutiny.